If I talk about my life, it's a long life and a very enjoyable life. So let's start right from the beginning. I come from a rather old Austrian family, landowners and army people. My grandfather ended up as a major general. My father was a major in the First World War. And my grandfather also is a landowner, had timber, the lowest form of nobility. My father met her before the war when she was a daughter of an embassy official in Vienna. And she obviously left before the First World War and came back afterwards to look for my father. And I was the result, as it were, in 1924. Now, but railways have been with us even before my lifetime, because Granddad decided to have a little railway line from the sawmill in the woods to the main line, so he didn't have to have horses and carts dragging the stuff along. So he bought a locomotive and used it. Eventually, this little loco, was an ex-Austrian loco from the Vienna Underground Railway. When they electrified it, he bought one of those. And those I remember very well. Anyway, my life as a child was, despite the fact that the First World War was over and things were very difficult, was that of a jeunesse dorée. I've been very lucky, I've been very happy. My grandfather, my father, we stayed in the country, we had a place in the country and used to go riding. And we used to go with my father, the first sort of things, I used to go up the Semmering, where there was a little place called Peyerbach, Reichenau, and they had a little narrow gauge railway going through the grounds, and a big curve, and it made a funny noise. It had a horn called a triphone horn. It made a sort of sad noise, and I remember that, and the lawn was full of forget-me-nots in the spring. It was fabulous, and that little train. And I've got a model of it. I made one many years later, just to remind me of it. So that was the start of my life, and I travelled everywhere by train, obviously, and enjoyed them. I sat on the level crossing barrier beam and watched the mainline steam locos roaring through. And whenever I could get there, I looked at the locomotives, travelled on the locomotives, and of course the interurban in Vienna, that's the Vienna to Baden tram. And that's a funny one because it ran on tram lines, but it was a long vehicle. I've built a model of it here too, because I wanted to remind myself of it many years later without a drawing, and it is remarkably accurate. Anyway, the wonderful thing about that one is you could actually get in a dining car. There was one dining car, and you could sit there, a little tiny table, not that small, and you could order a goulash or a sausage and a piece of toast or bread or a roll with some mustard and a beautiful coffee. And the marvelous thing is when you got onto the tram and you ordered your coffee and you sat there and you were quite higher than the trams, and normally, and you could look at the pedestrians there standing in the rain under their umbrella, and there you were in absolute sybaritic luxury, little boy really living up to it. My father soon taught me something about that one. He said, you know, when you travel third class, because the third class carriage gets to the destination just as fast as the first class, and you don't need first class. And how right he was. I still feel guilty when I travel first class nowadays, because it is quite right. Anyway, so trains were there all the time. Anyway, I joined an airline, don't laugh, KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, who used my language. I started working at London Airport as a passenger handling clerk, and then they made me press officer. So I was able to get abroad, go to Holland, looked at the trams in Amsterdam, looked at the Stoomtram. This is the Dampf steam tram in the, at the side in Holland. So my railway investigation became fascinating. I saw lots of European trams which I hadn't seen. right back, and it was now getting down to 50-ish, 51, 50. I used to go to the model railway exhibitions, and I was interested. I liked the HO or 00 ones, but they were very small. I liked the big ones. They had the gauge 1. So by this time, I really got myself deeply into rovers. By the way, I forgot a rather important point in my life. In 1946, I got married. I married Monica, and I took her, we wouldn't believe that, to Tinton. It's cheeky, actually, where I'd been with my girlfriend, and introduced her to the little rail car that used to go up and down to Ross-on-Wye. It's wonderful, it's fabulous, nice little rail car. I remember that very well. It was quickly coming, we don't mind that. But I remember that we went to Ross-on-Wye, and it was very hot, and Monica had an awful lot of scrumpy, and somebody helped her back on the rail car. And you've got to step on very high because the floor is higher than the platform, and there were 10 black fingers on a white skirt. She never forgave me. And I then sold my house in Guildford and came down to where I am. And that, incidentally, is actually 1974. It's a long time ago. Life, you know, when you live is a long life. And what I'm telling you, it's really, there are pages of a diary, and the ones I didn't like I tore out because I don't want to dwell on miseries. I enjoy my life. You know, if somebody said to me, what is the best day of your life? I can always say, I don't know, I haven't lived it.